Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Receiving Noor weekly Quran study. We are continuing to study Surah Al-Baqara, the second chapter of the Quran, also known as the cow. Dr. Yamina will be leading us as usual, and we are welcome to join in with comments and questions. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Yamina.
Thank you, Isra. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. So we have started with this surah, the longest surah in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqara, which is the second surah, the one that comes right after Al-Fatiha. And so far we've done 5 ayat, Alif Lam Mim, that is the book in which there is no doubt. It is guidance for the God conscious who believe in the unseen and are constant in prayer and give out of what we provide for them as sustenance. Those who believe in that which has been sent to you as well as in that which was sent before you, it is they who are certain of the hereafter. It is those who are on true guidance from their sustainer, and it is those who are the muflihun, the prosperous and successful, and those who attain to happiness. And the next 2 ayat are ayat 6 and 7. Truly, as for those who deny, it makes no difference whether you warn them or not warn them. They will not believe. God has sealed their hearts and their hearing, and over their sight is a veil, and they have great torment. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. So this is ayah 6 and 7, and the subject is totally different now. We were first told about the muttaqeen, the God conscious, and we were told about all of their characteristics, because it's important to be a muttaqi, because it's in that state that people realize that there is no doubt about the truth of the Quran. In the very beginning it says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. There is no doubt in that book, but there is no doubt. Who can see that reality? The muttaqin, the God conscious. So it's important to be as God conscious as possible. And to that extent, inshallah, we'll realize, we will have that there is no doubt about the truth of the message of the Quran. And now we learn what happens when people do not believe. And as I had mentioned last week, there are degrees in belief, but there is no neutral middle state of neither believing nor disbelieving. Either we believe or not, but in belief there are degrees, and in disbelief as well. So those who do not strive to believe willingly, to choose to follow the path, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path, and to know themselves better and better as abd, and therefore appreciate God as our Rabb more and more, and therefore strengthen their belief. When we are not doing that, we are setting ourselves up for disbelief. Now, the disbelief that is mentioned in these 2 ayat is something that people choose. But then in ayah 8, it talks about people who think that they believe, but actually they don't. And we need to know what is the situation of those who choose to disbelieve in order to keep away from that alternative, from that possibility. But it's important to understand that we either believe or we don't. We either strive and choose to believe, or we don't. Well, some people choose to disbelieve, but when we don't choose to believe, we are also setting ourselves up to failure and to possibly, even if we don't get totally into the choosing disbelief, by default, we are we may follow that path. Hafadhanallah, may Allah protect us. So those who don't strive to believe and strengthen their iman, they are in trouble, especially when people choose actually to deny and insist on denying. And in Ayah 7, there is a warning against this state of denial. And this warning is guidance and it is rahmah. The warning itself is guidance and rahmah. When in Ayah 7, we are told that at the very end, and they have great torment, great punishment, great suffering, whatever, however we translate adab, وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. That itself is rahmah, to that we are now being warned that this path leads to suffering, to torment. Because guidance and tarbiyah, educating people, require that people are made to know in advance before it's too late. They have to be made aware of the consequences and the significance of their choices. And this way balances, this way there is a balance between hope and fear, because we need both to keep us on the straight path. If there is only encouragement and praise and hope, there is only the description of the muttaqeen, all very good, very nice. So we have that hope that we may follow, inshallah, the path of taqwa and be like these God-conscious people that are praised in the Quran. But then it's good that inshallah, it hopefully that hope induces in us the willingness to be like them, and encourages us to strive to be like them. But if there is only that, then very quickly we forget about the message and we can become lazy again. I mean, we know that even for things that we need to do for tomorrow, and we keep procrastinating. So let alone things that are not immediately tangible. And especially they are tangible, but they are tangible to the people who are already their abilities and their emotions and everything has been developed, so they can see, they have that insight, they can see and hear and perceive the world in a particular way. But at the beginning of the path, we don't see things like that. We may know, we may even be convinced, we may know for sure, but we have not seen them and we have not experienced them yet. Remember, even in the path of certainty, there are degrees, the degree of knowing, and then of seeing, and then of living and experiencing. حق العلم اليقين, عين اليقين, and حق اليقين. So we need not only hope, but also fear. We need to know that there are consequences when we don't follow the path of the straight path, the path of ihsan, the path of iman, the path of taqwa. Then there are serious consequences. There is a great torment for those people.
Dr. Yamina, I think this is a very important point, and I just wanted to add this, that initially it feels counterintuitive, or let me put it this way, it's not counterintuitive, but oftentimes I hear from some people that, you know, these consequence language is not a high level language, it's not ethical, you know,
Not
you should
compassionate, maybe.
not necessarily not compassion, but it's not ethical, like you do it because
Oh, I see.
you think it's the right thing to do. You shouldn't do it because of you know, being scared or something. uh, but at the same time, like that kind of approach has an appeal, but at the same time, in everyday life,
That's not who we are.
that isn't how it happens. So like, there is, it has truth to it, like every you know, idea has some truth on it, even if it's wrong, it has some grain of truth. So there is a truth there, that in that we can't be just motivated out of um, fear, but there's also something deep about consequences that we need to keep in mind, because it's those consequences that actually show us the nature of what we're doing. and and yes, we are motivated by positive and negative consequences, not just the positive, even though it sounds sweet to talk about positive consequences only, or not, or it might sound lofty to only speak about uh, you know, the nature of what we're doing, how it's the beautiful thing to do without any consequences. But in real life, and in reality, in truth, there is a lot of importance and significance to consequence as well. I mean, that's how we live. And it's interesting because those people who say, oh, religion is all about consequences, I'm doing the right thing for the good reasons, not because I want consequence or result out of it. And yet, uh, those are the same people in all the other things they do look for a consequence, uh, an immediate consequence. One time, I don't know, I'm diverting from the subject. You can stop me anytime. But one time, I was uh, at a physical rehab with a patient with me, from somebody from the family, and we were talking about with somebody else there. You know, she had brought her own father who was very frail, and I said, that's such a, you know, blessing that you are taking care of your father in this old age. um and she said, you know what, I'm not doing it for you know, blessings or anything. I'm just doing it because I want my, you know, that's the right thing to do, and I want my children to see that this is how we deal with somebody old. She didn't look very religious, which is very hard to tell who's religious from outside anyway, so that's of course, I admit that, but you know, I tried to encourage her. You know, she's doing something nice, and I said, you know, God gives blessings for this. This is amazing. And her response, like, no, I'm not doing it for the blessings. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. But immediately after that, she said, I want my kids to see how to take care of a parent, because I'm going to get old sometime as well. And immediately I thought, you know, that's consequence too. But it's not religious, you know, apparently a religious consequence. So it um,
But
so I,
she has a point in the sense that usually people do not see that there is an organic consequence. The consequence is not like unrelated, but just when if you do this and this and that, there will be a punishment, as if the punishment has nothing to do with. It's like a parent punishing the child. If you are naughty, if you break something, you will do this and that. Here, the punishment is actually organic. It is contained within what you do. So it actually has even, how do you say? It's not a matter of I accept it or not. It's not a matter I like it or not. It's a matter of, it's a law of creation. When you um, sow a seed, you get the fruit of that seed and nothing else. Don't expect to get something else. So the organic, I think, consequence and connection between the two is also very important. And that's usually, whether Muslims or other in other religions, mostly people are not aware of that organic connection. So they think it's like, why do they tell us like it's only scaring, dissuading people from transgression? Yes, it is dissuading people from translation, sure, but also, and you are not made to like transgression, or like the lady, you are made to like to assist an older, weaker person. At the same time, there is a connection in assisting or refusing to assist, and that's what she is not seeing. So she thinks like, it's, what is it to me? I'm only concerned about at the most my children will look after me. Some people may not even care about that. They say, as long as my conscience is okay, like I did my part, and I don't care if my children don't look after me or not. But that's a point, but they are missing what that point points to, indicate. It's a sign to something much deeper, and something that is also not only, it's deeper in its meaning because it looks to the beautiful names of God and to Akhirah, but to a very deep need in us as well. So we don't only have the need to be looked after when we are old ourselves, but the need to be looked after all the time, because we don't realize that the woman is assuming that she is healthy, that she is looking after the father, that she is the source of something. And if there is a blessing, as if the blessing is nothing to do with, the blessing is actually, that's why we are supposed to make shahada. We can't make shahada if the blessing is not within the act itself. Yes, what we witness is only a seed, so we don't see all the fruits of paradise, all the fruits and the beauties of the divine names, but we see that seed, what it leads. Like you recognize the seed or the tree, the leaves by the, when you see the tree or the seed, you recognize what kind of tree it is. I don't know if it's clear.
That is helpful. Jazakallah khair. Yeah, that's helpful. So, so in that case, for instance, when the person says, I don't need blessings, taking care of my old father, I'm doing it because that's how I feel it's the beautiful thing to do. And there she has a truth, because there is something beautiful that points to beautiful names of God in that relationship of faithfulness, that your father has taken care of you, and now he's very old, he's forgetting things, maybe he doesn't even recognize you anymore, but you do honor your relationship, and you do take care of your father in old age. That is something beautiful, and that in itself is pointing to something more, and we can
because
and if you don't see that beauty,
we did not choose that feeling. Why do we even bother about it? Because it is stronger. It's a strong urge within us. It's not like we choose it. Well, some people may be cruel and choose to discard it, and they ignore it. But if we have not totally spoiled our fitrah, we are made that way. So if we take it to a Muslim, for instance, a believer, if I believe that I will help my parents, so that and then I will be given Jannah, and I never see, there is no organic connection between the two, then first, where did I get the Jannah from? How am I confirming, believing and confirming in Jannah, in Akhirah? How did I even get it? Just because I'm a Muslim, just because they told me there is Jannah, and then there is no certainty there, and it cannot move me. It becomes just a hope. Maybe I'm hoping that, and I can't see the. So when I'm together with this, it means when I'm acting in my name. We talked about the Bismillah in the Fatiha, in Surah Al-Fatiha at the beginning. Acting Bismillah, it means not in my name, but in the names of God that I witness while I am helping. While I'm helping, when I'm aware when I'm helping and not doing it just without thinking, then I realize that it's something greater than me, something beyond me that is urging me to help. And so I recognize it and acknowledge it as a sign to something. Whoever is creating me and creating my parent, for instance, or someone who is weak and in need of assistance, is creating us together with this. There is a need in me, actually. It is a need, just like the other person needs assistance, I need to assist. And when I don't assist, I feel guilty, I feel bad. Clearly, it's not from me. Clearly, it's not something that I turn on and off. Something is coming through me, and it is the names of God, like Rahmah. There is Rahmah that wants to manifest itself. There is generosity that wants to manifest itself. There is the name of helper, Mu'in, that wants to manifest itself through me. And when I recognize them and let them be manifest, but not in my, when I don't recognize them, I may let them manifest, but in my name. And so I don't recognize them for what they are. But when I recognize them as signs to beyond, as signs to the beautiful names of God, then I witness them. And as I am helping and assisting the weak person, I'm getting many messages. One is that God is the helper, and there's no helper but him, because I don't know how I'm helping. Even my health I potentially could be like the other person. It's nothing to do with age. Health is given or withdrawn. And so I am grateful for my health now and for the opportunity to help the other person and assist them. But also, I don't have that fear, that hidden fear inside, that one day I'll be like that old person, so frail, so fragile, so vulnerable. And I'm not sure, will there be someone to help me and assist me? When I am doing it in the name of God, I know that even if it's not my own child, I may not even have a child, my child may not be there available that time, whatever the situation, my Rabb is the one who is helping this person through me. My Rabb is the helper. So how he is going to help, with what means, by is secondary. What matters firstly is that he is the helper, not only in this world, but most importantly, forever. He is the one, the source of mercy, the source of helping, the source of providing, and generosity is everlasting and eternal. And he is much more forgiving and compassionate than anything I can imagine. So the heart is at peace. It finds its joy, its happiness in recognizing and surrendering to God alone, because we may know and still don't want to submit, because there is a part of us, that ego part of us, that says, I understand it, but I'm not going to submit, because I also want to claim that agency, that I'm also doing something. So you see how the Jannah, Akhirah, while I'm helping, I'm also confirming and witnessing not only that there is no deity, nothing worth worshipping except God, there is no helper except God, and also I am confirming and witnessing the reality of akhirah and the reality of paradise. And I can totally, that person, that muhsin, that God conscious person in that situation can totally see what happens when I forget, or even worse, if I block those names, or let them go, let them manifest, but in my name. I am depriving myself of that endless source. I am claiming or imagining, pretending that it's happening on its own like this. I don't care where it's coming from, which is totally foolish. And you can understand then that there is no paradise in that perception, in that state of being, in that state of not surrendering, in that state of resisting, and almost like not rebelling, but like when you don't submit, and it's like, you're there, I'm here. Like instead of submitting to God as the Rabb, as the provider of everything, I'm totally in need of your help. I'm saying that there is also that state of being where you say, okay, you may be there, but it's nothing to do with me. I'm here and I do what I want, which is totally foolish, because yes, you do what you want, but you are totally dependent on his creating, on his sustaining, on his providing. It's like a child, being, what do the children, not rebelling, but what do they do with the parents, when they start, you say one thing and I say two things. Isra, were you going to say something?
Yeah, so I was going to say something, but I'm not sure if it's the right question. But um, I feel like there's still something in me that wants recognition, or some sort of being seen, or compensation, as it were, which may be a result of not witnessing
The compensation came first, the muttaqeen. They were praised first. They are praised. That's the recognition.
Yeah. So like, yeah. So
the recognition is not in me praising me and saying I need to claim something from God's property. That's stealing. That's lying.
Mm-hmm.
So the praise, God praises the muttaqin because they are the one who have integrity, because they admit the truth as it is. They don't pretend that
they don't shadow.
Little bit is mine. No, nothing is yours. Mm-hmm. Nothing is mine. Mm-hmm. So there is, that need is there, and that need is actually fulfilled when we follow. It's teaching us from the beginning, this is the way your needs are being fulfilled. Not only your needs for being recognized and acknowledged and praised, but also your need for happiness and joy, and true joy this is the recipe. So it's in being God conscious that all those needs are fulfilled.
Yeah, so that consequence, reward, or punishment language be taken as fulfilling that need, that it doesn't have to be that people have to recognize me, but there is something in you that, or in me, that says I want somebody to look at this, that let's say in very old age, I helped a friend, um, and I did it not to show off. I didn't, maybe my friend doesn't even recognize me anymore. I didn't. I'm not expecting return in that sense. I want to reflect, divine beauty. It's actually coming through me. Like there is something in me that wants to reflect. Yeah, and I'm not blocking.
That's why if your friend actually is grateful and acknowledges you, we like it. Why? Because it's fitri. Why? Because it's a sign. It's a sign to the reality. However, we also can.
She forgot. She doesn't recognize me, or she's moody, and
even if she is not. It's not because she forgot. She doesn't want to or something. All those relationships are signs to the reality. It reminds me of how I need not to forget or ignore what is given. And also I realized that it's good when people are grateful. So it means I need to be grateful. But those relationships are all signs to the reality. And when we understand and submit and surrender to that reality, then we are grateful when people are grateful. But when they don't, then okay, we are sad, but it's not the end of the world. We are not devastated, because we know that at the end of the day, recognition doesn't come from people. The recognition that I truly need does not come from people. They are like me, vulnerable, needy people.
Yeah. So like when what I'm trying to understand here is there are moments where it appears maybe it appears that way because I'm not genuinely going there, meaning realizing that I am not the one who's helping, and these are beautiful names unfolding in this situation. So maybe if as I experience that more in that joy of seeing beautiful names manifesting through me, eh, I wouldn't ask for more. But so that's a possibility. But then putting that aside, even as I'm experiencing it, maybe there's a part in me that says, "Oh, but this is hard." I have to get up in the middle of the night to take her to the bathroom, or I have to, do this. I'd rather do something else. It's hard, and so on. And then that part of me wants kind of encouragement to go that extra mile. So then the idea of you know you have blessings for what you do. You will see the reward of what you do. Hang in there. Be patient. Do not give up for a small.
Yeah, but that's true. But hanging there, you will have blessings. I need to confirm that. So there is a bigger part of me that should be actually experiencing the blessing and confirming that there will be even more blessings in Akhirah. Otherwise, it will be just, I will be someone, whether the Quran or people telling me about it, it won't be enough. So it's true, but the blessing, I need to confirm it, and I need to confirm it by starting to taste the samples of those blessings here in this world. Otherwise, I can never witness to the reality. I can never have yaqeen. Remember, these people had yaqeen in, was it in ayah 2, 3? So that's why I said it needs to be organic. It can't be just, I heard about it. Unless I witness it, unless I experience it, it's not going to move me. It's not going to motivate me. So we have the hope and the encouragement. And to the extent that we follow the path of the God conscious, we are going to have degrees of certainty of it. At the same time, we also need the fear and warning to dissuade us from transgression, because part of us also wants to transgress, or at least by not following the path. There are two ways of transgressing: by not following the path of goodness, and by doing actually the opposite as well. In the beginning, you start by not doing good, and then the person gets used to and starts transgressing. So we need that fear as well. It's like in educating children. You can't educate a child by just encouraging them. Actually, if there is only encouragement and praise and no, the child doesn't fear anything, that may lead to not self-confidence or something good, but to kind of narcissism, too much, or being self-absorbed and self-centered. So there need to be a fear of consequences as well. And that's human being, that's how we are. We need both. And so this way, there is balance. People neither despair from God's rahmah and give up completely, or I can't do it anyways, because there is always hope to be like those people. Wherever you are, you can always turn back. And there is no feeling of being like absolved from punishment. Someone thinks that they are so righteous that they are beyond punishment now. They won't be concerned about going astray, which is not true. Anytime if you start relying on yourself, you start going astray. So on both, if someone thinks that they are on the right path and there is no way they can go astray, or why did you get this warranty from where? Because we are totally in need of guidance, in need of help. So we can't one day say, oh, I'm so good now, I'm over. We always have to ask for guidance again and again, and for help. And we can't rely on ourselves. And I can't say, oh, I'm totally done, there is no way I can go back to the right path. No, wherever you are, if you choose to go back to God, ask for help wherever you are, He will take you out of it. So there's no despair nor self-confidence. And that's why whenever the righteous are praised in the Quran very often, then the transgressors are denounced. So that, okay, you don't want to go through the other path. And this way we're encouraged to be like the righteous and restrained from following the path of the transgression and denial that lead to suffering. And each time we are told that it leads to suffering because we have the potential for both, and we need to be told what it is, because we don't want to actually spend half of our life in transgression and then realize it. And some people may not realize it. Some people don't learn easily. And then coming back will be very difficult. Why not know it in the beginning? And so we'll make our choices accordingly. Because if we are not told, then people will have to learn through experience. And experience in this case is very limited, because the person who is going to transgress doesn't have doesn't know what they are missing. So how are they going to know? We need divine guidance. We need the God Himself telling us what the consequences of transgressing and denying the truth is. not only in this world, but especially in the hereafter. And the hereafter is very important because it is eternal life. So the ayah starts with inna. Interesting, because usually it starts wa with and. Here there's no direct connection, proposition of coordination. At the beginning it starts with inna, and this inna is interesting because it's used so frequently in the Quran, and I think it's for a good reason. Usually translated in older translations, surely, truly, verily. In a newer translation, that it's totally omitted. There is nothing there. I don't know why, maybe because truly, verily sounds old English or something, but actually it has a function. There is no word in the Quran that doesn't have a function. Each word is a sign, is an ayah. And so this inna, truly, indeed, it's like, indeed, this is such. According to the grammarians in the Arabic language, its purpose, the purpose of inna, is to establish or confirm facts. It's like للتحقيق. So you want to confirm that this is true. So inna is actually drawing our attention and asking us, it's like an invitation to pay attention to the meaning of the sentence that comes after it. It means, be careful, indeed, this is the truth, this is so. So it's an invitation to reflect on the statement, because if inna is used, it means the statement is an established truth. There is no doubt about it. It's not in some conditions sometimes. No. This is a law of creation. So inna repels any doubt, any denial about the message stated, which is here, it makes no difference whether you warn them or not, they will believe. And who are these people? Those who deny, الذين كفروا. So it's very important to notice that it starts with inna. So inna being used here has different implications. It means stay away from kufr, from denial, because it's a sickness of the heart, a sickness of the soul. And those who fall into the sickness or catch the sickness are beyond healing. They can't hear the truth anymore. It's like their hearts die to the truth. And it's at another level, it's saying, do not blame yourself when people you care about and you care about them, you're trying to invite them to the truth in various ways, but they insist in their denial. It's not necessarily because you're not doing it the right way. And it seems also to be an allusion to how much the Prophet ﷺ must have wanted these deniers to come to believe and be saved from eternal darkness and meaninglessness. So it's saying, like, as in other passages, like, do not be sad, this is how they are, nothing to do with the truth and nothing to do with you. And it's not like how this particular person is. This is the human potential. If we fall into denial, this is how we're going to be. So the first message is, be careful not to fall into this pit of denial, of kufr. And right after inna comes alladhina. And we've seen alladhina before in ayah 3 and 4. Instead of, like before, instead of al-mu'minun, it was الذين آمنوا. Here, instead of al-kafirun, the deniers, the ayah is saying إن الذين كفروا. There is a verb, and therefore it starts with a relative pronoun and then a verb. Those who have denied. And as for Iman, it meant people who intend and consciously believe. Here it means people who consciously intend to deny. They consciously deny. That's why in commenting on this ayah, one of the early Quran commentators, Zamakhshari, he says, he paraphrases this as those who have, or explains it as those who have deliberately resolved upon their denial, upon their kufr. So it's important that there is a verb here. It's something that is conscious, intentional, and deliberate. And also it's something that it's a verb, it's done again and again. And that's why in the Quran, these people are described as having hearts with which they fail to grasp the truth, and eyes with which they fail to see, and ears with which they fail to hear. They are like cattle, nay, they're even less conscious of the right way. So it's important that in the ayah we are told, أُولَٰئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ, those are like cattle. They are like cattle, it means they do see, they do hear, they do feel things. It's not like suddenly their hearts are not working, they don't feel anything, or they don't see anything. But they don't see the truth, they don't feel spiritual truth, they don't feel the reality. They are just like animals also see and hear, they also hear things. And as I had mentioned many times in our past classes, the original, the root of the verb kafara, or the noun, let's say kafir, or kufr, is derived from the root verb kafara, or the root kafara, and the verb is kafara, to cover. I'm using the infinitive, but actually in Arabic it doesn't work that way. There's no infinitive in that way. Kafara means he covered, and the infinitive is closer to kufr than to the verb itself. But I won't go into the grammar, the details of the grammar. Anyway, what is important is kafara is to do with covering something. And that's why in the Quran, in Surah Al-Hadid, Surah 57, Ayah 20, it's used to refer to the tillers of the soil, Al-Kuffar, which is the plural of kafir. And it's not used in any negative, with any negative implication when it's used in that ayah, because it just means the tiller of the soil, the one who cover the seeds with earth. And in Arabic you also say the night covers the earth with darkness. The word kafara is used. So kafara is to cover. In this particular context of the Quran, kafara, or in this ayah, kafara, it means those who cover the truth. So it's not, when we think kafir, usually translated unbeliever, disbeliever, or even Orientalists will say infidel, which really does not translate the word. But even when we say disbeliever, unbeliever, and things, we need to keep in mind, because it gives the connotation, the meaning of a person who rejects a particular religion, a particular system of law, and it's very restrictive. But actually, kafara and kafir have a wider, a more general meaning. They convey a connotation of covering and concealing the truth. The truth, that truth is the truth that the person knows, at whatever level it is. some people have integrity and will accept the truth, and some people have a tendency of concealing. So when the greater truth comes, some people are going to submit and surrender. Some people are going to, even if they totally understand it, conceal it, because that's what they do with many truths as well. So because there is a connotation of covering and concealing, it means something already exists, they already know something as true, and they are denying it and concealing it. And so that's why the kafir in the Quran is someone who denies the truth, someone who refuses to acknowledge the truth. Whatever the truth is for that person, it can be taken in a wide sense. What matters is this person knows something to be true, and they are concealing it, because they can't be concealing something that they don't know about. And the fact that the tense, the perfect tense is used here, those who have denied, those who have rejected the truth, indicate that these people know the truth, know some truth, let's say, because it doesn't mean they know all the truth. Some truth, they are only responsible for what they know, and they choose to deny and conceal it after it has become clear to them. That it's important to realize that this term refers to when someone denies and conceals something that's clear to us. Deep down, we know, and sometimes mostly people will do it within themselves, but deep down we do it in not necessarily truths regarding Akhirah or Quran, but something we know we shouldn't be doing that, we know we shouldn't be saying that, or we should be saying or doing something, but deep down we feel it, but very quickly we cover it up with justifications, and we rationalize it, and that's it, and we conceal it. And the more we are conscious, the more we start realizing what we are doing, and then it is up to us to choose to carry on doing that or to stop it. And of course, to carry on doing that is foolish, because just because we covered something that exists, it doesn't make that thing disappear. It's still there. And that's why we are told the warning is futile, because they know. It's not like they don't know, and that's why whether you warn them or not, it says whether you warn them or not, they don't believe. Why? Because they already know. They have no intention. When we have an intention, to know is not enough. And so we want to repeat again and again. We tell our friends, remind me. We write it down. We go and read the Quran again and again. We meditate and reflect. We welcome the time of the prayer, because it's again another reminder. People are now text each other du'as, and they are all reminders. Why? Because we know that knowing the truth once is not enough. We need that refreshing, that renewal, that so that part of us who wants to conceal the truth, we do not feed it, and we are feeding the heart, and we are feeding the soul. So the other one knows and conceals it, and doesn't want to hear about it anymore. Don't remind me, okay? Because if you remind me, they will be unsettled, uncomfortable, because deep down they know. So they say, stop it. don't talk about it. It means I don't want to be reminded. I don't want to submit to the truth. And so it's saying, what does it imply? It's saying it makes no difference. Actually, the sawa'un is actually means it is the same. Translated, it is the same whether you warn them or not warn them. So what does it imply for the messenger, for the Prophet ﷺ, for instance, and therefore for those who follow his path? Does it mean don't bother? Like don't do anything? It doesn't matter. It's the same for them. This is what came to me actually to my mind the first time I had read it a few days ago. But actually, if you are careful here, we told in the Quran it does not matter. It makes no difference for them. It is the same for them. It doesn't say it is the same for you believers, for you prophets. So it means that it's the same for them. It doesn't mean that it's the same for you, so don't bother. You don't have to do anything, because the messenger's duty is to deliver the message, as we are told in the Quran, مَا عَلَى الرَّسُولِ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغِ. The messenger's duty is only to deliver the message. For instance, in Surah Al-Ma'idah, Surah 5, Ayah 99. And so our duty is to deliver the message, and we don't know who is who. So we can't start with we can't judge who is who. And this, our duty is to deliver the message, and we start by delivering the message to ourselves and then to the people around us. Actually, when we deliver the message to ourselves, our way of being, of speaking, of everything, inshallah, will be also a way of delivering the message and speaking, and especially a way of delivering the primary message here is the truth and being authentic, being truthful to that reality, to that truth. And also we need to keep in mind that some people, it looks like some people may be disbelieving, but it's not because they know, but because they don't know. So there are two sorts of disbelief. Disbelief due to ignorance. People don't believe because they don't know. They never heard of the truth. And there is disbelief due to, which is rejection, like obstinate rejection, when people know and yet they do not accept the truth. And sometimes the first people who don't know, once they learn, they are like everyone else. Once they learn, then you'll find out that some people accept and some people don't, even though they totally understand what's going on and they know it's the truth, but they obstinately and foolishly reject it. They have no intention to surrender and submit to the truth. And so it's not because they have doubts about it, but because they have no intention to submit. This is important. And this is important not to understand other people, but to understand ourselves. Sometimes there are areas where we surrender easily, and there are areas where we find ourselves like obstinate. If there is obstinacy somewhere, we have to make a lot of istighfar, because it means in that particular area, I have some claims and I have no intention to submit. And it's going to undermine our belief and our surrender and our taqwa. So when we deliver the message and warn people, we need to exercise wisdom and not spoil the balance. And just like there is the balance of hope and fear, of praising and warning, there is also here, the ayah says, whether you warn them or not warn them. سواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم. So it seems that to us that warning is better, like delivering the message is better. But it depends. It's not necessarily better. It depends on who is being warned, who is receiving the message. It depends on their response and reaction to the message. Some people are okay, they are open to receive the message, but some people are, when we feel obstinacy, we'd better stop, because sometimes warning some people may increase their obstinacy and you can feel it. So remaining silent may give them space to think more fairly than actually engage in, not discussion, but how do you say, munaqasha. Anyways, when you try to convince them that what they're thinking or saying is not right and this is how it should be or something, even if you're sure that is the truth, there is no need. If someone is obstinate, is not open to listen, give them space. You will find out in many cases it's going to be more beneficial for the other person, because you need to be thinking about the need of the other person, not what is true or not, what is right or not. So in relaying the message, we need to balance warning and not warning, just as warning in general is also balanced with good news. That's why the prophets are described as mubashirina wa mundirin. It's repeated in the Quran for all prophets that they are bearers of good news and warners. And we're actually told that in Surah An-Nisa, Surah 4, Ayah 165, that the messengers are bringers of good news and are sent as bringers of good news and as warners, so that people may have no excuse before God. So people won't say, but we didn't know, you didn't send us any messenger, we didn't know the truth. And also the Prophet ﷺ is also described as Bashiran wa Nadhira, and also as Mubashiran wa Nadhira. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا مُبَشِّرًا وَنَذِيرًا. We have sent you only as a bearer of good news and a warner. So bearing good news and bringing good news and warning come together. Good news for belief and taqwa and ihsan, and warning for unbelief and denial. Why? Because that's how we created. We have the potential for belief and for rejecting even after knowing the truth. So we are told, if you believe, here are the good news. If you don't, warning, these are the consequences. So now do your maths and decide what you want to do with your life. And so not only the good news, but the warning is also rahmah, and it is also part of guidance. Guidance wouldn't be complete without it, because we need to be warned against the dangers of denial before it's too late. And also we may not realize how dangerous and how harmful denial is. Especially that now we know that once people fall into it, it's not easy to pull themselves out of it, because they will have to be there and ask for help, which is a little bit hard. So from the beginning, to be preventive and not fall there is a much safer choice, inshallah. So warning here in the Quran, the fact that it's warning us again and again is a means to repel, to help, to teach us how to repel harm. Remember when we were reflecting on Surah Al-Baqara, we said we have two forces, two powers mainly, all the repelling what is harmful and attracting what is beneficial. And actually all of our emotions are based on repelling and attracting. And we can say fear and love. Love is for attracting and fear is for keeping away and repelling harm. And we have the power of intellect is to decide what is to be rejected and what is harmful and what is beneficial. Therefore, what is to be repelled and what is to be attracted. And that's why using our intellect, our reason with wisdom is very important, and that's what we are taught in the Quran. And that's why the warning comes together, because we want to keep away from harmful situations. And that's why it's described here, especially in the second ayah, in ayah 7, sorry, second, I mean in the ayah that comes after. So we don't have to experience denial to learn from this warning. That's good as well, because we've been given the power of imagination. So we can imagine the situation and learn from it without living it. We don't have to live all kinds of harmful situations to learn from them. We can hear about it, we hear about it, and we can imagine it, understand it, visualize it, grasp it, and say, oh, that's not what I want, and choose accordingly. Because it's so dreadful, especially in ayah 7 and in other parts of the Quran, being in denial is so dreadful that even imagining being a denier is painful and scary, and it's suffocating for the heart, for the spirit. Especially in the next ayah when it says ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم غشاوة ولهم عذاب عظيم. God has sealed their hearts and their hearing, and over their sight is a veil, and they have great torment. So this is part of the warning, which ends with the penalty, that they incur, the adab azim, the great torment, the great torture or suffering. And this confirms how harmful disbelief is. And so it induces in us, inshallah, hopefully, aversion for it. We don't have to live it to understand how averse it is, how ugly it is. And so the ayah is full of rahmah. These kind of ayats are full of rahmah and full of guidance, because they deter us from that path, from any path that may lead to disbelief, inshallah. Because disbelief is such a terrible affliction, a source of great suffering. It's devastating, it's destructive. It destroys the heart, the hearing, the sight. What can be more scary? It deprives people of, what does it say here? It seals, their hearts are being sealed, and their inner hearing, their hearing of the truth and seeing the light of truth. It means the very gist of being a human, their soul, their spirits are affected. Can you imagine what kind of dark, meaningless world these people end up living in? In ayah 6, it ended with La yu'minun, and now it starts with God has sealed their hearts. And it ended with لا يؤمنون and not يكفرون. It started with إن الذين كفروا, those who have disbeliefs, but it ends with they don't believe. And this choice reminds us of what they lost. They lost belief. They lost iman. Because if the word kafara was used again, kafara doesn't give, when you are reading, when you are hearing, it does not bring the connotation of iman. It just brings a connotation of hiding the truth, concealing the truth. But at the end, it says whether you want them or not, it's the same for them. They don't believe. And so we are again reminded of what they are losing. They lost iman, they lost belief. And why is it important? Because belief is what connects us to our Rabb. Belief is what connects us to the truth, to the light, to the true meaning and purpose of everything around us, of our own life. And that is the source of all joy and happiness, which those people, like everyone else, are actually seeking. They seek happiness. Everyone, if you ask them what they're doing, they will say because they want to be happy. But they are missing everything because they don't know the reality of what they are doing, the purpose and meaning of their life, of who they are, of what they are doing on earth. How can they find any true joy or happiness when we are created with the need for meaning and purpose? And not only meaning and purpose, but lasting meaning and purpose, and meaning and purpose that lasts beyond the death. And so the fact that لا يؤمنون is used instead of, for instance, يكفرون, as it was used at the beginning of the ayah, it indicates that due to their loss of iman, they lose the source of all happiness. So their loss is really great. And right after, we are told God has sealed their heart, which indicates that since they choose to disbelieve, since they choose to not believe, then their hearts are, instead of being filled with the light of Iman, with the light of the truth through which you see the real nature of everything that pertains to the beautiful names of God, instead there is no true meaning, no true purpose. It's darkness. As far as the heart and the needs of the heart is concerned, it's darkness. It's spiritual darkness. And the result of that spiritual darkness is that the heart is filled with not joy and happiness, even if the person is trying to mimic some kind of happiness. The heart is going to be filled, has to, with fears and anxieties and dissatisfaction and even hatred. People can even hate themselves, hate their lives, because hearts are created in a way they receive life. I'm not talking about the physical heart, but just like the physical heart receives is blood and is made to is given life, our, how do you say, spiritual heart, or metaphorical heart that is talked about here, receives life and joy and happiness only, we are told in the Quran, only and only through belief, through iman, through the light of belief, through the truth, knowing the truth, seeing the truth manifested in the world, the truth that everything is rooted in the beautiful names of God. Everything has lasting meanings and purposes that pertain to the lasting, eternal, beautiful names of God, al-Asma al-Husna. And so with the phrase, after that, he says, وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ. So God has sealed their hearts, and on their hearings and their sight, there is a veil. On their hearing, there is an indication, it's a sign here that because of their unbelief, these people have lost the wonderful gift of hearing. And not hearing sounds, they hear, but like we were told in the other ayah, they hear like cattle hear, like animals, but they don't hear what human beings are supposed to hear. They don't hear the truth. So what the believers hear is they hear everything in the universe glorifying God, making tasbihat. They hear everything invoking God, proclaiming La ilaha illallah, proclaiming that there is only one maker, one Rabb, proclaiming the divine names of God. In their beauty, they claim that it's not from them, that the only source of beauty, there's only one source of beauty, and it belongs to God alone. So whatever you think of, the winds, the thunder, the birds singing, now it's spring, you can see all the trees around that everything is coming to life, everything is green, there are flowers, pink and yellow, the pattering of the rain, they are all meaningful speech of being glorifying the Rabb, making tasbihat, making him known to us with his beautiful names. And so they bring joy to the hearts of the believers who also join in the glorification of everything with their Rabb. They see everything, witness it, and say, Subhanallah, MashaAllah, Tabarakallah. But the unbelievers, their hearing is blocked. That's what we told in this ayah. It's blocked. They are deaf. They are deaf to what? To the glorifications of beings. They hear things. They hear wind. They say it's the wind. They put names on it, and that's it. They do not hear how everything is glorifying God. They don't hear the proclamation of the divine, the beautiful divine names. So the disbelievers only hear what attracts their attention is when everything is fine, they don't even hear things. Okay, they may like sounds in nature, for instance, or they may not. It's not important. It's what matters is what they like and what they don't like, not what's going on out there and what the meaning of things are. But what attracts their attention is when things die, when things end, when what they like leave. And so they hear cries of mourning and lamentation. Death is what they fear. Why? Because if death is a reality, it means, and if death is as they imagine to be the end of everything, then everything is meaningless. It reminds them that one day I will also die. I will also live everything. And so whatever I'm doing, whatever I have, whatever I am living for, either they will die and leave me, or I'll die and leave them. In any case, there is separation and everything falls back into meaninglessness. And that's why when people live in disbelief, they have to keep themselves busy for not hearing anything. They don't want actually to hear, because they don't hear the truth, the reality. They hear their misperception of the reality. And as a result, their hearts are filled with sorrow, with despair, at the recalling of their own death, which for them is the end of everything. And they perceive everything as alien. They don't perceive everything as friends, as all worshippers together, all worship God together. We're coming from the same source and going back to the same source. They perceive everything as alien. Nothing has true meaning. And this only increases the sense of being alienated, feeling lonely, and you cannot belong in that perception of the world, in that self-perception as well. It's a very desolate world, very dark, very cold. And then comes, and over their sight is a veil. So over their hearing and over their sight is a veil. So it's not only, the veil is not only over their hearing, but over their sight as well, which again alludes to the loss of the huge gifts of seeing as a consequence of their unbelief. So a believer, even if he's blind, sees the reality of the world. But a disbeliever, even if he has seeing eyes, he doesn't see the reality. Because it's only with the light of belief that the true nature, the true purpose, the lasting purpose of all things and beings can be perceived. Otherwise, everything remains buried in darkness. That's the concealing that they are doing, the hiding, the covering, and all the beautiful truths that give joy to the human heart, to the human soul, remain hidden through disbelief. The heart, the soul do not like disbelief. They don't like concealing the truth because they thrive with the truth, because the truth answers all of their needs. It's like starving the heart and the soul, starving them, or feeding them with junk because they are starved for good food. But you say, okay, they need to remain alive, so you give them fake feelings and emotions through junk things, man-made junk things. And it starts with harmless, seemingly harmless, and it can go to totally devilish practices. May Allah protect us. So the whole world becomes like, in a sense, it's like wasteland. Nothing has true meaning. And for the ruh, I feel it's like a prison. For the ruh, because ruh wants this endless akhirah, not only the world of akhirah after death, but the world of meaning, the world of the beautiful divine names here and now. That speaks to the ruh. So when that is not available, the world becomes like a prison, and it causes, that in itself causes much pain and torment to the human heart, the human soul, because they long for meaning, they long for lasting purposes and perfections. And that's why the ayah ends with the phrase, وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ, and awesome suffering awaits them. Because this ayah refers to the way creates. This is a law of creation. This is sunnatullah. When a person persistently holds on to false beliefs, when a person persistently refuses to listen to the truth, refuses to surrender to the truth, that person gradually is going to lose the ability to perceive the truth. And it is as though a seal is set upon their heart. And since it's God who creates, God creates in this particular order, that if you do not, if someone persistently rejects the truth, they start not recognizing it and not perceiving it. It's like, the heart gets atrophy. It's like a case of atrophy. And the more we recognize the truth and live with it, it's like someone exercising every day. They become stronger and stronger, more and more powerful. Muscles develop accordingly. So their spiritual muscles and subtle emotions and start strengthening and develop. And in the opposite, they get weaker and weaker. And these people lose their ability to perceive the truth. They start, even if they hear it from so far because they are so busy with false things. They are drowned in false things. And so this creation, this order of creation, this is the way God created it. But we are the ones who make the choices. So clearly, whatever happens to people, for instance, if someone ends up with their heart being sealed, yes, it is God who is creating it. God sealed their hearts, we are told. However, it is their choices. It is people's choices to have their their hearts sealed. It's like if I plant a strawberry seed, I will get strawberries and not blueberries, and it's my choice, my responsibility. But can I create the strawberries? I can't. I can't create anything, neither strawberry nor anything else. But it's my choice, so I'm responsible for it. And so here, the suffering and torment in store for those who remain deaf and blind to the truth is their responsibility. And it's like remaining in darkness is the consequence of closing my eyes. For instance, I close my eyes and I remain in darkness. It's my choice. I don't create the darkness, but it's my choice to remain in it. And so for joy and happiness in this life and the life to come, they are the consequences of belief, of Iman and Islam and Ihsan. They are the consequences of belief and surrender and living consciously in the presence of the divine. And so their opposites, which are disbelief and resisting and fighting the truth and rejecting it, result in distress, in the not only a lack of joy and happiness, but because the heart is supposed to be filled with joy and happiness, when it is not filled with joy and happiness, the emptiness causes distress and despair and darkness. When there is no light, we take light from something, there is darkness. And so the sealing here is clearly the result of not believing. There is an organic connection that I was mentioning before when Isra had asked a question and was making some comments. It's very important to realize that the sealing of the heart, for instance, here is organically connected with the disbelief. And joy and happiness and that peace of heart and that satisfaction, itmi'nan, as we are told in the Quran, of the heart, and that is the result of Iman, of believing in God and surrendering and living with Ihsan. So clearly the sealing of the heart is the result of not believing. And it is a warning to us. It is a warning for us to be careful, because people can and do corrupt their they corrupt their heart, but first they corrupt, they use their will. They first corrupt their will, because actually we are created with a how do you say, an inclination towards good, an inclination towards accepting the truth and acknowledging it, not towards concealing it and covering it. That's why people they feel restless when they lie. And afterwards, if they get used to lying, when they become pathological liars, then you don't even see anything on their face. They lie without being embarrassed. But at the beginning, you can see when people are lying. You can realize it because they're embarrassed, they're restless. You see, we are created with an inclination toward the truth. So when we corrupt, people corrupt their will first, and then instead of being inclined towards the truth and belief, they end up choosing disbelief, choosing to cover the truth. And what's happening meanwhile, if they keep doing this again and again, is their heart are going to be affected. They are going to be sealed and blocked up. It's like a spiritual atrophy. And so the ability of the heart to not only acknowledge, but also to rejoice at the truth, to expand at the truth, the ruh expands at the truth, gradually that ability declines. And at the end, it becomes totally blocked up. And so that's the sealing. And the sealing has been also understood as a metaphor for the heart being a house of God. So, meaning that the truth is prevented from penetrating the heart of these people because they keep misusing their free will and rejecting the truth. And so the term sealing, it's like portraying the heart as a house of God. And this house is built in order to be a place for jewels, beneficial things, the jewels of the truth. But because of their misuse of their will, it can be corrupted and it decays, and those things that were supposed to be jewels and beneficial things turn into poisonous things, they say. And so it's locked up and sealed so that the poison doesn't go out. And so here we have to keep in mind that we're talking about the spiritual heart, the spiritual center. The heart is a spiritual center, and also what is sealed is that aspect of the heart that looks to the truth, that looks to the divine names, that looks to akhirah. But the heart, as it looks to the transient pleasures of this world, is still working. That's why it becomes corrupt. It's not working in how it was supposed to be working. And that's why the part that was supposed to be busy with akhirah and the divine names get filled with distress and despair. And that's why no one can find peace and satisfaction while denying the truth. Because the heart, which is the house of God, can only host God. It has been created to host God, and it can only be satisfied by remembering Him, and mentioning Him and worshiping Him alone. And when God is not let in, when He is not remembered, when His names are not mentioned, when others fill the human heart instead, then the heart decays and deteriorates and degenerates, as if that's the metaphor. And so that's why the sealing concerns the heart's that lofty ability that look to God, to akhirah, to everlastingness, and not to the heart's connection to the pleasures of this transient world, because those people are trying to actually enjoy the world, but in very animalistic ways, as we are told in the Quran. الذين كفروا والذين كفروا يتمتعون ويأكلون كما تأكل الأنعام. We're told those who, it's again والذين كفروا, the same expression. So it's describing the same group of people. these people, those who deny the truth, they shall enjoy their life and eat as cattle do. So they do enjoy their life, يتمتعون, and يأكلون, and they eat, but they enjoy their life and eat like cattle, like animals, not like human beings, not like they were supposed to be, not for as they were created for. They lose that lofty abilities. Because the heart innately knows, is aware deep down, everyone's heart is aware of how vulnerable we are, how needy we are, and we all need, and recognizes actually the evidence, who we recognize the evidence of our Rabb, whether they are manifested inwardly and outwardly in our heart, because the heart is so aware of our vulnerability and our having no power when we have so many needs, so many desires. So the heart seeks support, it seeks and longs for a source of assistance and help. And that's why when it hears the truth, it's ready to accept it normally, fitratan. If the fitra is not corrupt, it is ready to accept it and embrace the truth, because that's what it's longing for. And so if someone knowingly, deliberately rejects the truth, they're doing themselves a great harm, not only in this world, but in the next. And they want to live like animals who don't have an awareness. They're not conscious of their vulnerability and their needs, and they're not seeking support. So they can enjoy themselves here and now without thinking about the future. But someone who rejects the truth and conceal it is just deceiving themselves. It's very foolish, the opposite of wisdom. And they can never find joy or true happiness and peace and satisfaction in this world. And in the hereafter, it will be even worse for them, because they will see plainly the reality of what they were doing. Here, they can at least try to conceal it and keep themselves busy in meaningless try to entertain themselves meaninglessly. And it's interesting also that the word used at the end, لهم عذاب عظيم, عذاب, the word used to refer to their punishment is عذاب, and the root of عذاب means sweet. We say sweet, pleasant, agreeable. We say ماء عذب, sweet water, pleasant water. And so it has been understood that this is also an allusion to remind us that they are seeking pleasure and delight in the world itself, by imagining that things are the source of the sweetness and pleasure. And so it is that seeking for sweetness, for pleasure, that will become their punishment. Why? Because clearly nothing is the source of anything. Things are themselves being made and cannot be the source of anything. They cannot help us, they cannot give us anything. Now, the believer understands this here and now and seeks the source, seeks help from the source, from our Rabb himself. But the others, they are seeking the pleasure and the sweetness from things themselves. And that's why the seeking of the sweetness becomes their punishment. And it's the same root. عذب, عذاب. And in Akhirah, it will be clear for everyone. But for us, it's important to understand this. The ayah has a message for us now, because we tend to forget that only our Rabb can help us. And sometimes in our ghafla, in our mindlessness and foolishness, we seem to be expecting some help or some kind of help from things themselves, totally disconnected from their source. We forget. And I will repeat this because it's a very important formula, and if we grasp it and apply it, it changes everything in your life. We fall into ghafla and forget about our Rabb being the only source of everything we ever need, everything we ever give importance to, everything we long for belongs to Him alone. Why do we forget this truth even after we have witnessed it? We are sure about it, we know it, we have no doubt about it. Why do we forget it and then start acting in the world as though the water is fulfilling my need, the food is nourishing me, and this and that? It is because I do not see them for what they are. When I start seeing things for what they are ayat, they are glorifying God, they are making tasbihat. Water, for instance, because I used this example before, I'm using it again. Water is making tasbih, saying that the giver of life, al-muhyi, al-hay, the source of all life is God alone. And so when I interact with water this way, when I perceive water as an ayah to my Rabb, there is no way I can forget it. It's the other way around. The more I interact with things, I will remember God everywhere. I will see His names everywhere. And so my interaction with the world will become my worship. Things won't be obstacles to remember God. So so the second question is, why do I forget? Few times I did experience, I did confirm and witness that truly things are ayat. If I do it with one thing, I can do it with another one. I can apply the same reasoning, the same approach to everything else. But why do I do it once and then forget about it? It is because of how I perceive myself. This is very important. It's the key. And that is totally my free will. It's my choice. There is part in me that doesn't want to surrender, that wants to claim agency, even if it's a little bit of agency. If I keep listening to this part of me, I am nurturing it, and it's not going to surrender. That part is not about surrendering. That part is about not paying it attention, not giving it importance, and nourishing and strengthening that part that is surrendering, the heart that knows the truth, the ruh that knows that it is totally dependent on its Rabb. So the more I nourish those through remembrance, through renewing my choice, intention, and doing things to strengthen the renewal of my intention, the more the other voice will start. Because I'm not focusing on it, it won't bother me anymore. It will be like a far voice in the background, and when it will be actually a means to expand my understanding of the truth and reality. When it says something, I just answer it, and the answer will open up a new path for me, a new window onto the truth. But I won't try to, I don't take it seriously in the sense that I'm trying to reason with it or to convince it, because I'm aware that part is not there to be convinced. It's just saying things. And the fact that it's created there is not bad. It's created so that when it tells me something and I go and search for the truth and find what's going on. So that was an urging, something started me on asking questions and wondering what's going on. But it's not there to be taken seriously and follow all my life. Try to, once I find the answer, I don't go back each time and try to convince it. It's not there to be convinced. So our energy should be on whatever I found to be the truth. I will focus on it and renew my intention of practicing it. And that voice inside, each time bring that voice and each time give it importance, it will grow. It doesn't grow. I am giving it too much importance. It's like if you have, for instance, the blowing air, the heating. When we start this class, I put the heater off because it makes noise, but it only attracts my attention when I am having a class or something. All day, when it gets on, it's on and off. When it's on, it doesn't attract my attention. So it's like that. There is that noise in the background, but it's not always, unless I am listening to it, it doesn't disturb me. I don't take it seriously. I don't each time try to as if there is a way of putting it off. There is no way of putting it off. It will go off, or it will be like off when I am not busy with it and not focusing on it and not giving it attention. When I put my attention to what needs to be attended to, which is my ubudiyah, that I am a abd. I am a abd. I need to repeat this. And I am a abd means I have a Rabb. It means I am being sustained in life. I am being sustained in this. And as I repeat that, it means my Rabb is the one who is giving me life. He's the one who is feeding me. And then, inshallah, when I say Ya Razaq, it means all these things. That's the conclusion. And if it comes through a genuine reflection of the heart and soul, then when I say Ya Razaq, for instance, it will mean to me everything that comes with it. It reminds me of that I am Marzuq, I am the object of rizq, and that everything around me is rizq and is also provided. It's providence and it is being provided as well. And it becomes like a code. The heart will recognize it immediately and will surrender and find that peace because, I can rely on my Rabb. I don't have to worry about what will happen to me, what will happen to my children, what will happen to the forests in our town and this and that. What will happen to everyone after they die? So that formula is very important. And the key is how I perceive myself. Inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم نور قلوبنا بنور الإيمان ونور بكتابك أبصارنا واطلق به ألسنتنا واشرح به صدورنا واستعمل به أجسادنا بحولك وقوتك فإنه لا حول ولا قوة بك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakumullah khair. May Allah bless you. Thank you. Is there anybody who would like to comment? I know it's kind of late. We're over 2 hours. But if anybody would like to share something at this time, please go ahead. We'll take a couple of minutes. Okay, so if not, then inshallah we'll stop here. And thank you for joining us.
It's very what is the word, decima. I didn't know English does not have the word decima, like it's a decima meal, a full meal. and the point that you highlight at the end, Yamina, which is the key is how I perceive myself, is like a very crucial point. And perceiving oneself like as a abd that is in need and that has a Rabb is the core. And that in itself is a long journey, because everything around us teaches us, in order to succeed, you need to be on top, you need to be in charge. There's no place in our education or in our upbringing where ubudiyya is even a concept. That we understand the word Abdullah, but the concept of ubudiyya and what does it mean was never part of my religious education growing up, or anyone's religious education, including my own children as I brought them. And bringing that concept, understanding that concept, that you are abd with needs and those needs are taken care of, and everything around you confirming that everything is taken care of. And just like every time I see something taken care of, it reminds me of how I too am taken care of. And then the cycle keeps emphasizing yourself is a different cycle than another cycle where you should have done this, you should have done this. And I have a story of one of our sisters. Let's make dua for her, Noor Shams. I don't know if you met Noor Shams, but maybe I'm sure that Isra knows her. She just emailed me that she had a miscarriage, and it was very difficult on her. But the thing that was more difficult than her own physical agony and and also feeling of loss was how everyone around her in her family were, and family of her husband were quizzing her and almost blaming her. You should have done this, you aborted because of this, if you did this, this would have not happened. Even something like this, the whole community around you in a Muslim country with I'm sure her family is a pious family and her husband's family is a pious family, are trying to blame her for something like this, as if it's her charge, she should have done that. It's not that this this was this was all a message from God, and it has another meaning, and we should look for that meaning. And that child was was not meant to be there, because if it was meant to be there, it would have been there. Instead of that, she's trying to battle this, the whole forces that are telling her, you should have been in charge, you're mistaken because you were not in charge enough.
That's why in Al-Hikam, the wisdoms of Ata'ullah al-Iskandari, he says that how do we know that we perceive and we are certain that the blessings are from God is in the time of failure, because in the time of success, it seems like I'm saying Alhamdulillah, praise be to God, but actually I could be very well just saying it, but my whole being is actually saying I did very well. Can you see? But it's in time on failure, when things that we don't want happen, that you will see that if it's truly, if I blame causes, if I blame myself, it means when I was doing something good, I thought it was from me. So it's hard to trust God and surrender and accept it as from God, because actually it's a sign. It becomes a sign whether I was giving something to myself and to what I perceive as causes, or I was perceiving it as totally from God.
Yeah, so subhanallah, like, look how difficult the concept is for communities and people, that people have to suffer instead of like taking that time as a time of
Not difficult. It's
yeah.
we don't know about it, and once most people don't know about it, and just because we learned about it doesn't mean that we are practicing it. So we have to learn and then practice it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, knowing it is just like the beginning of it, and then after that it's like it at least, like, you know, when I think of my journey, at least when someone reminds me, the concept is there to be reminded about. Like before there was no concept there, like the concept doesn't exist, but having the concept there helps you to be reminded about it, and sometimes it's easier to remind someone else about it, like, you know, than to remind yourself. So jazakallah kulla khair.
I also wanted to thank you, Jazakumullah Khair, for both the question and the answer and the conversation. I want to share that we have a piece on receiving your website about a similar situation. I mean, a bit different, but you know, another reflection on the miscarriage and how it could become a means of it's sad, but it can become a means of an opening. So I'm going to share it here as the link. It's called Ride on Sorrow and Become a Butterfly. Feel free to share if you'd like, Ali.
I definitely will share it, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Isra. I thought, anyway, I had this similar thought as yours when Nur Shams reached out. So also it's a good time to make dua for her. May Allah, like, you know, make this a healing time for her, and yeah, inshallah, and may she enjoy like having this beautiful angel waiting for her, and having a part of her that's in heaven already, you know, is a beautiful thought to think about, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khair for joining us tonight, everyone, and thank you again, dear Yamina. Jazakumullah khair. Inshallah, we'll continue the conversation, the journey into Surah Baqarah next week, 8:30 p.m.
Inshallah.
From now on. And inshallah, the registration for the women's retreat in Philly area continues, and it's going to close later this week in a couple days. So, if you're planning to come, just go through the process of registration so we know who's coming and when.
And I wanted to touch base with the Yamina and you, Isra, after the meeting is over, if you wanted to hang